Welcome one and all, once again to the live stream. My name's Lewis, also known as MrCameraJunkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills and not your gear. Today is Saturday, May the 1st, going over the midnight hour to Sunday, May the 2nd. Once again, welcome to the live stream. As always, I like to start my live streams with a tip of the day, and I started something a little bit new, so here we go, and I'm going to give it a shot. Photography tip of the day. Today's tip has to do with batteries. What I do is I number all of my batteries. This helps me use them in sequence, allowing me to get the next number in order, guaranteeing me a fresh, fully charged battery. It also allows me to pinpoint a defective battery in the bunch. MrCameraJunkie's tip of the day. All right, I think that worked successfully, and I'm just gonna go ahead and continue. So there we go. All right, well, as you can see as the thumbnail and the title of tonight's live stream, I have achieved, or the channel has amassed and grown up to 500 subscribers. So now there's 500 members in the Camera Junkie crew, which is amazing to me. Because it was not even 5 months ago, right? Or yeah, just about 5 months ago when I was saying like, oh, I want 100 subscribers, and 4 months after that, I've just been getting roughly about 100 subscribers a month. So with that being said, it looks like I could be looking at around 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which is amazing. Which is, I wanted 100 subscribers for my channel URL, and that was like such a big achievement for me. So I'm ecstatic. I just can't believe, I see the potential in the channel and what we're doing here and what we're growing with the Camera Junkie crew. So it's all because of you guys. So I also want to thank every single one of you for being here with me, hanging out, watch me on my journey as we amass. And I'm going for the K. That's what I'm gonna call it now. I'm gonna go for the K, meaning I want to have the number 1 and then the letter K for 1,000 under the channel. So that's the next goal to reach, and I'm glad that you're here to join me as we go together as I reach my goal to 1,000 subscribers, because that's the next stepping stone, so to speak. So well, with that being said, let me check in on the chat. Okay, so I have Miss Joanne. How are you doing? Welcome. Thank you for hanging out. She's saying hey. It says a quick hi. Nice tip for the batteries, but I don't have that much with me. Alright, so let me see that. There we go. Actually, you know what? Let me do something with my camera. I was getting everything ready, and I seem to forgot to leave this microphone adapter on the camera. And let me just take that off real quick. Much better. Now I could actually see the screen. Alright, so we got some thumbs up here. I would just tell everyone thank you, kind of hanging out. I'm just going to be talking about exactly that, like what these last 4 months, because we're just now hitting May being the 5th month. So starting the beginning of the year, and actually starting in December, where it was that I was asking, sort of like for the holidays, that I was asking to be able to reach 100 subscribers just so that I can have my custom URL channel name. And that's when I fell, I crossed paths with Doc Rock, and from there the rest is history. LGL, Peter Greg, and all the Gregorians and Peter Terrians. So many people that have helped me along the way. Friendships that I know that have just been established, and connections that are gonna just blossom like this channel is blossoming. So it's I don't know, I don't even know what to say, because like I said, I was so ecstatic with 100 subscribers, and now to see that we're at 500, I can't take this grin off of my face. Okay, so Sloth is in here. Okay, look at this. It says, I just bought an A6100 and your vids are so helpful. Thank you so very much, and thank you for hanging out and leaving me this message. These are the messages that make my day. I can't even tell you, it's such a satisfying feeling to know that what I'm doing is helping at least one person, and between you and me, it's helping more than one person. Right now, one of my videos is mind-boggling that it's over 5,000 views on this video, and it's just consistent views, and it just keeps going. And talking about the A6100, it's about the A6100 kit lens, and I don't even know what to say, man. I'm working hard for these things, but at the same time, nothing's a guarantee. So I'm trying to enjoy the moment, because as a small channel that has aspirations to grow into a much bigger channel in the future, how can I say, I'm only gonna reach this milestone once, so with my aspirations of growing bigger, I'm only gonna reach 500 subscribers once. And that's why I want to kind of like make a little note, a kind of like a little, what's the word that I'm looking for? What's the word? It's like a time capsule, like a little just snippet in time, and just say, wow, 500 subscribers. And for those of you who will watch this, I appreciate every single one of my subscribers. I appreciate every single person who watches any of my content so much. I'm always about having a good time, and I've even I saw myself when I was much younger as a stand-up comedian. It's something that I've always been drawn to since very, very young. That even like when other people were saying that they wanted to be other things, like I was like 10 years old saying like I wanted to be a comedian, a stand-up comedian, excuse me. And with that being said, like you actually you kind of put those dreams aside, so to speak. It's not something that you really pursue because life, like I always say, life gets in the way. And it does, it gets away in the way of your passion. So if you're listening to this, I tell you, listen to what I'm about to tell you and pursue your passion, because there's no guaranteed tomorrow. So make the most of every day. Take advantage. Recognize and be grateful for all the things that you have, because I am extremely, extremely grateful. And that's why I'm doing this stream, because I want to say thank you to my 500 subscribers, the 500 people who believe in me enough to say, I'm going to click on this little button that may seem insignificant to some, but to someone like me who is putting so much effort into my content, it's just, it's like a confirmation, like a satisfied customer. It's hard to put into words the feeling of satisfaction that I have. Not satisfaction, like it's like a sense of completion. There's a lot of things that I've been working on, and just to see this, like I think it was yesterday that I just passed over 500, and I think I'm at 510 when I started the live stream, and I'm just taken back because it's not a number that I can control. It's not a number that I worry about, but it is a number that I do acknowledge, because to me it shows like I have 500 people who believe in me enough to say like I was a satisfied customer, like I was extremely, like, that they found my content helpful, like Sloth here, who says that he finds my vids helpful. And that's all I can ask for, because that's exactly why I started this channel, is to give back to the same community that's given me so much, to YouTube itself that's given me so much. For example, I had a storefront location doing cell phone repair, and because it's a storefront location, and to keep everything going, you take in all the types of work that come through the door. It's like I was fixing radio control helicopters, like RC helicopters. I'm sorry. I was anything. I was fixing every type of device. I was fixing PlayStations, Xboxes, PSPs, Nintendo Wii's, anything that came through the door electronic. I would get my hands on it, and I was going to fix it to make it for a profit. And that's when my son was born, and that's when everything changed. Now I do everything for my son. But knowing, where was I going with this, because it's just I'm still in shock. Well, just still in shock. I'm like, I thank everyone here. Like, I'm trying to not get worked up. Excuse me. The reason why is because I really do everything for my son. And when I had my storefront location, meaning my son is my main, he's my why. He's why I do everything. He's why I do anything and everything. So when he was born is when things changed with the storefront location, and I wasn't gonna spend the 60 and 70 hours a week that I was spending at that business and away from my son, especially when he needed me so much. So with that being said, I know that my uncle, and I thank my uncle, all the time as well. He's a AC repair technician in South Florida. Hey, Dr. Elo. Thank you. And Randall, I just see the chat. Dr. Elo says 512 right now. So I guess that's my subscriber count. Thank you, Dr. Elo. Thank you for hanging out. Well, to get back to my story. My uncle, he's an AC repair technician. And he's always been someone who was able to master his time. You know, he was always in control of his time, and that's something that my son needed from me. Someone who's able to control their time but needed to fill it up, you know, kind of like make sure that I'm not wasting time. And with everything that he taught me, because when I was younger and I wanted to stay home and watch some like Saturday morning cartoons when I was really young, you know, he would pick me up on a Saturday morning and take me to work with him. And back then I'm thinking it's a chore. And now, like I said, I thank him all the time for all the life lessons and all the skills that I was able to learn on how to build things myself. And I'm a person who's always tinkering and making things out of, you know, materials, just because that's something that, even though it was natural in me, I guess he also cultivated. And because I already had worked in the air conditioning field with him as like an assistant for him, I decided that I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to get my AC certification and get my license to become an AC repair technician. Make sure. Now, with that being said, is when I'm dealing with my baby boy and I'm transitioning from cell phone repair business to AC repair, and I'm trying to get my license. Well, when I started checking around to get my license to be AC certified, every place was requiring me to become a student, to just quit basically my job. And I laugh, I scoff almost, I'm sorry, but it's, you know, my son needs me. I need to provide for him, and I need to make a transition for him, and the schools were requiring me and had no other option but to basically become a full-time student and start going to school 8-9 hours a day, 5 days a week. That was not an option. Not for me. So I kept looking around, and luckily I came across a location that basically was just giving me the option to take the test. And they were like, we not worried about where you learned your information. If you come here, you take the test, you pass it because you know the information through our metrics. We will then give you your certification. It will all be done through the mail. And if you pass the test, you're certified. And then you can go start getting employment wherever you want. And I was like, yes. And then on the phone, while I got this information, I asked them right away, how soon can I take the test? And they were like, 2 weeks on a Saturday. And I was like, schedule it. So I made the appointment, and in 2 weeks I went to the University of YouTube and brushed up on all the things that I was missing on my like information and my background for my AC certification. Hey, what's up, Sammy? How you doing? And when I did that, I was able to go in with that test confidently and just knock it out. I aced it, and I'm universal certified for AC certification. Let me see if I... Where did I put my wallet? Here it is. Alright. Here we go. I carry it with me. Let me see if we could focus on that. Mainstream Engineering, Luis Vega, and my code. And yeah, so I started doing air conditioning. And Sammy says, "Is it me or do I hear the Mac fan?" No, you hear it. I'm even trying to, excuse me, I'm even trying to dampen it out with like a towel to see if maybe I can, if I can like dampen the sound. But this microphone also, I need to get it dynamic. I need to still get me like a pod mic or something like that, so that even though that sound is being made, it can still kick out most of it. Because this thing, it's a rumor that they say that these microphones can hear a mouse fart, in the next room or something like that. So I really need to get something dynamic, something that doesn't need phantom power, so that maybe I can calm down a little bit of that fan noise. But going back to the story, now I'm doing air conditioning. And for those of you who don't know, I live here in South Florida, where it's hot and air conditioning is a must. But then I realized that, air conditioning is not for me. There are some advantages. There could be a lot of good money being made, but there's a lot of work that I, just being honest, like, I didn't want to do it. Like, I'm going from hot, extremely hot locations, and then I'm jumping into the attic, which is the even hottest location at that location, to fix the air conditioning. And as soon as it's fixed, I don't get to enjoy it. I don't get to cool off and be like, oh, let me take 5 minutes. No, basically you have to haul tail, and head to the same similar location, to make it as a viable business, which is really, really tough. But with that being said, that some other things were into play there. But I went back into bartending because of the simple fact that I wasn't going to take advantage of my AC repair technician skills. And so what can I say? So when I'm there is when I'm realizing that my clients are still calling me for cell phone repair. And that's when I decided to throw some magnets on my car, and was like the birth of Mr. Fix It. And that's what I do with the birth of Mr. Fix It, is when I wanted to advertise better for myself and start taking better photos and better videos to advertise the business that now is 100% mobile, giving me the ability to control my time and spend my days with my baby boy. So I do everything with my son, and if I need to do a repair, he's in the back seat with me as my co-pilot. Now, what started off as like, I want to take better pictures and photos of my business, rekindled my passion for video photography and everything of that sort, which is what I went to school for. I actually went to school for television production, filmmaking. I was on the morning announcements, in elementary school. So I always laugh. I'm like, man, I wish I can find those tapes from back in the day, so that I can see myself back then and compare it to now. Because it being May, for those of you who don't know, my birthday is coming up. I was born May 14th, so in a couple of weeks on Friday, it will be my birthday, and I'm going to be 40 years old. 40. I was born in 1981, and I'm coming around full circle for the 4-0. So it's a lot of stuff that's happening right now because of the efforts that I'm putting in with the channel, the growth that I'm starting to see, and with my birthday, and it's just so many things. And that's why you see me here. That's why you see me here so enthusiastically grinning, because I'm just humbled. I'm grateful, thankful, so thankful for everyone here. But you know what? Let me get into the chat, because I've just been rambling on. And with that being said, with the photography, video, and everything like that, knowing what not to do with the YouTube channel because of how I messed up my Mr. Fix-It YouTube channel, and that's a whole different conversation. It's just gonna be super interesting to see where I end up at the end of this year, or come around full circle when it's back to Aiden's birthday in December 3rd. I want to see where we're at with the Camera Junkie crew. See? So let's get into the chat. I just started here. Okay, so I just want to say thank you once again to everyone. So Dr. Elo says, congratulations, Lewis. Woot woot, 500. Mr. Camera Junkie, he also said that, that I was at 512. Randall saying, I am fantastic. Thank you, Randall, sir. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here every Saturday and being so incredible. And like I said, I'm just so thankful and grateful to everyone who hangs out. Just so awesome. Says, I'm telling you, bro, you are most knowledgeable camera professional I know, and you're going places, brother. Thank you, man. And the whole thing with cameras and everything is that I'm always learning. That's why I absolutely love photography and video, because there really isn't oh, I finished. Just to give you an example, there's plenty of things that I can learn if I were to continue doing air conditioning. I know this. There'll be plenty of things that I'll be able to learn, and tricks of the trade in the field, but it's not my passion. My passion is more electronics, whether it be iPhones and computers that I've always been repairing, PlayStations, all internals of electronics, or even cameras, because cameras to me are almost the pinnacle of my knowledge when it comes to electronics, because I can fix a camera body, but I don't think I'd be able to fix a camera lens when it comes to optics. Because I can replace motors and internal electronic components, but if a lens is bad or scratched, or that's wizardry to me. The way that they can figure out how to manipulate light and anti-ghosting and all this stuff that is one second, I need to hydrate. Okay, so let me hit this to see if I got that. All right, so going back to the chat, Sammy was saying hey. I said hi to him. He's saying what's up. Dr. Elo saying hi to him, and he said this. He said, is it me or do I hear the Mac fan? No, like I said, you do hear the Mac fan. It's so steady. I heard it in last week's stream, but I'm working on my M1. I definitely want to get it, if not just for this same reason, because I really wouldn't want to put this computer under my desk, but I might just have to. take it off the desk and put something else, and maybe be able to cover the back end with like a towel, and cover the gap between the end of the desk and the wall itself. And then right there, if that's a possibility, I'll be able to maybe dampen the sound enough that I can work with what I got. Because when it comes to the way that the stream is working, the way that it's looking, the way that it's doing everything, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's running fine. I do need to get into the eCam community, and I do need to test out like the interview mode. Like, I do want to bring some people on, people who are familiar with eCam, that are maybe using like what's it called? I forget the names of these things. I'm so bad with names. and I do camera reviews, right? It's crazy how I can remember the camera like digits and numbers and codes, but then I can't remember a simple name of, what is it? The virtual camera. That's the thing I couldn't remember. The virtual camera. People who are using virtual cameras and people who are using, like just browser. Just using like something simple. So I want to be able to test both of those versions out and make sure that this little M1 could actually handle the interview mode. It says, do you need an M5? I think he said a 58, like a Shure 58. It says, why is your fan on your Mac Mini? Yeah, it's my Mac Mini. Oh, it's definitely on. He says, I thought it was not on. Sammy is definitely on full blast. Full blast. Just I'm trying every option that I have with it, because I usually have my, what I call my Apple Cube, right here in the front, and it's like parallel with the rest of my items, I guess my baby OCD or whatever, but just I like symmetry. So having it symmetrical, dead center in my on my desk is the way that I like it. But even right now, just to run the live stream, I have it like at a 45-degree angle, so I'm thinking that maybe the air is not smacking against the wall and creating more sound. So I'm trying to give it more space for it, so that it could like dissipate the heat and the air, and it's still loud as hell. Right? The funny thing is, the other day I was just testing things out, and it has that like side panel to it. So I was like, maybe if I take the side panel off, like it'll sound less, because it'll like won't have that much of a suction sound, and maybe it'll just maybe just for whatever reason, I said maybe let me test to see if taking the side panel would make it quieter. Quite the opposite, made it a lot louder. And I just put it back right away. I was like, that's not even an option, because as soon as the fan just got all this air, it just made like this turbo sound. It's pretty bad. Okay, let's see what Randall's saying here. It says, Mac Mini may have dust, or in its chassis need to blow it and keep it cool. The maintenance I do the PC peoples don't keep the inside clean from dust. Stop CPU and PSU fans. I understand that, Randall, but you also know me. When I went to put this together on both sides, I actually took video. I know I have the video if I didn't delete it, but that's a whole different conversation, because I got mixed up with a couple of SD cards in the computer, and I was like, why isn't it reading it? So when I saw it, I was like, let me just erase this and reformat this card, because I actually thought that I was reformatting the card on my Zoom H5 recorder, and I had no information on there. But the card that I was actually accessing and formatting was a card that I had video on. Now, I think that the reason why it was in the computer was because I had backed it up, but I haven't checked the drive. But I digress. If I have the footage, I do have footage of me breaking down my Mac cube that I created here, and I have it where you see me putting on like high temperature thermal paste on the CPU and the GPU, and totally like redoing both of these computers. They're really running a lot smoother, and it is cool to the touch, but the fan is going. It's going full tilt to make sure that it stays cool to the touch. It's not really hot, but the fan is, like I said, it's making its noise and it's going full tilt. Okay, so Sammy's saying, if Rene Ritchie has a 16-inch, then you can have the fan and it's fine. Is he still using the 16-inch? Yeah, but his is probably like a 2019, 2020, something a lot newer than mine. Mine's about to be 9 years old or 10 years old. Oh. Okay, let's see this. These sizes of these comments are everywhere. Okay. It says Mac Mini may have just we already. Oh, I already read that. This is the comment that I was looking for. It says, I was in the 9th grade when you were born. Man, I'm feeling old now. Come on, Randall. Like, even me, I'm seeing right now as a new beginning at 40. I'm like, Gary V says this a lot. He's like, man, this is halftime. Like, what are you talking about? Like, even if the chips are down, it's like, this is halftime. This is nothing. So I'm excited. That's why, look at this smile. Like, I can't tell you how genuine this smile is. Super excited for the rest of this year, for the next 6 months, let alone, I can't even think the next 6 years. I'm just thankful, ecstatic. Oh, McNasty is here. Look, you see, they're so small. Let's bring this over here. Saying, hello, good sir. How are you doing, sir? Welcome. Pleasure to have you here on the live stream. Rob is in the house. Look at this. They're everywhere in the size. I need to really check that out. Okay, let's bring that back. Okay, evening, buddy. Late getting here as usual. Dinner with the fam tonight. Rob, thanks for coming, sir. I appreciate you so much. You're just like, you're part of the originals. Like the original CameraJunkie crew, which, like I said, that means so much to me, because I work hard, and it's like to make sure that the faith that you guys have in me is not ill spent. I know these things may sound weird, but this is how I feel. Like, I appreciate that you guys taking the time being here with me so much that that's part of my motivation on the weekly, to make sure that it's like that I continue to work hard for the goals, for the channel, because nobody's gonna do it for me, but you guys definitely motivate me, and I appreciate you guys. I do. So okay, so Randall says, I am into computers, but watching you to learn about using cameras. Hey, Randall, you're awesome, man. and I'm glad that I can help in any which way possible. That's what I'm here for. Like, so if you guys, we're hanging out and everything like that, but if you still have questions about anything, make sure you leave them in there, because I'm gonna get through them. Or remove the case and have it open. That's what I just mentioned. That I thought that maybe opening like the side of it would have been better. Oh my god, it's so much worse. It is so much worse that I was just like, no. So I'm gonna try to see what I do. I love looking at it, and because of the ports and the way that I use it, I'm constantly in the back using the SD cards. So it would be really tough for me to put it under the desk just for the sound. It looks like I need to just upgrade, even if it is one of the two sides. Like I grab one Mac Mini, the new one, and then I just throw it on the left side, and then have the right side still be the older Mac Mini. Like the best of both worlds, because I still love my Apple Cube. Or I might just leave that here and just run the Mac Mini on the side. But like I said, it starts with getting that. Excuse me. It starts with getting the M1, just to have a silent running machine with all the power. But the thing is, if I get the M1, I can honestly say, looking at the M1 is probably, the performance that I'm going to get from the M1 is probably going to outdo the performance that I'm getting from both of these. But to explain, like just earlier today, another milestone, something that I'm just going to give myself a little air horn here. I was able to actually think of an idea, put it on paper, record the video, edit the video completely to my liking with music, the whole nine, and have it done and exported today, in less than a day. I thought of the idea in my morning shower, and I had it done before tonight's live stream. And with that being said, while I'm working on this video over here, because I have two Mac Minis right next to each other, I have this keyboard and mouse dedicated to this machine, and then I have the left side dedicated to this side. I'm like, why am I wasting time? And I opened up the Final Cut Pro over here and started working and editing on what I made the tip of the day, which I kind of like the format that, I don't know if you guys saw, where I actually created a video. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that again. Today's tip of the day. Photography tip of the day. Today's tip has to do with batteries. What I do is I number all of my batteries. This helps me use them in sequence, allowing me to get the next number in order, guaranteeing me a fresh, fully charged battery. It also allows me to pinpoint a defective battery in the bunch. Mr. Camera Junkie's tip of the day. And we're back. You see, so that's something that I was able to create, make, and finish completely on the left side, while I made a completely different video on the right side. So that's where I don't think the Mac Mini can outproduce, because I literally have two machines doing two different renderings at the same time. But if that Mac Mini can outproduce both of these, why would I have this when I would just have the Mac Mini and just run it on the dual monitor? So I got to think about what I'm gonna do, but it all starts by getting the M1, and that's the whole thing. I like my Mac Minis. I do. And it's not a sentimental thing. It's like I'm able to work with them and get the most out of them. So with that being said, I don't know. I'll get to that you know, when, like, I'll deal with that when I get to that. Okay, I don't hear the fan. Sammy just has an ear for it. Sammy Superstar, stop it. LOL. Really? You guys don't hear the fan? I hear it. That's the whole thing. And maybe I hear the same thing. Because, like I said, last week's live stream, I checked with the headphones. And when I reheard it, I was like, oh, definitely hear the fan. So, but that's just me. It's not like it's the worst sound. And that's why I keep the music in there. So it's not just like a steady white noise, but you know, you work your little things around it. I also enjoy the music, you know, because it makes it feel like, to me, like kind of like loungy. You know, we're just hanging out. We're just listening to some good music, good tunes playing in the background, nothing that you really have to pay attention to or, you know, take your attention away from the conversation, from the chat or anything like that. So. Says do something on Buy Me a Coffee that would help. I actually did. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, Sammy. That would help. Let's see if it does. I made a video about Buy Me a Coffee. That was the idea that I had in the shower, and I had this funny like wordplay on it, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a video on it, and I just thought the idea, like I said, I put it down, and it was putting it down is probably the most crucial thing, you know, just getting the idea out of here and onto something else so that then you could just look at it again. It literally was not a piece of paper. It was grabbing my AirPods, putting it in, opening a note app, and then dictating to it, and just getting the idea out. Once it was on the notes, it was there. And the story, then I could work with it. And it's funny because I actually did stand-up comedy as part of one of the things on like my bucket list, something that I wanted to do before, you know, I kicked the bucket. So my friend knew this, and he did stand up. I went to see a show with him, and he then invited me. Kind of like put it on me, actually, you know, like motivated me to say, hey, when are you gonna get on stage? And I'm like, nah, you know, because we do this to ourselves. We're like pre-programmed to just say no, just kind of like to prevent being vulnerable, in all sincerity, right? So, you know, we don't want to fail publicly. But with that being said, he motivated me, and he put that fire under my butt, and he's like, bro, dude, you're a trip. You make me laugh all the time at work. You need to put your jokes down on paper. Like, get them out of the dome and put them on paper. And we were working at a restaurant then, that he's like, you have paper in your hands all day. When you think of a joke, write it down. Like, rip off that little piece of paper and throw it in your back pocket. He's like, at the end of the shift, you're gonna see that you're gonna have a pocket full of jokes, and you're gonna have material to work with. And that's what it started with. It then eventually worked up to my iPhone Notes app, where I would just dictate, you know, my ideas. And then when I would go on stage to do stand up, in the times that I did do it, I would take the day off from work because I knew that I was going to be on stage that night. And that day I would get all those pieces of paper, all the jokes that I had thought of, and I would put them together to be able to try to create a funny story that gave me 5 minutes. Now, why do I bring this up again? Because this has a lot to do with the 500 subscribers, you know, live stream. For me to have the ability to go up on stage for 5 minutes, okay, on a Wednesday night open mic, when they said so, whenever they decided to give me the time, for me to do that, I needed to invite at least 10 people to come to the show and ask for me at the ticket window. Now, if you would ask for me, they would write down like, oh, this person asked for Lewis because they're here to watch him. Now, they get into the show for free, but they just want to know who is bringing in who. The one backdraw to this whole system is that house rules are 2 drink minimum for anyone who goes in to watch the show. So you get in for free, but then you're required to buy 2 drinks. Now, what sucks is that if 9 of my friends show up and number 10 doesn't, I don't get those 5 minutes on stage. And then I have to look at 9 of my friends and 9 of my couples, because they usually bring 2 people, right? Like they would come in 2. So, but I'm looking at like 9 of my friends and telling them, sorry guys, somebody else didn't make it and they didn't give me the opportunity on stage. With knowing that, right? Just giving you as a, you know, like as the backdrop. How incredible is the platform YouTube that gives you the ability to not only create whatever you want, but as long as you want. You know, like I sit here, and that's why I can't emphasize so much how much I appreciate every single one of you, because I sit here doing something that I absolutely love, hanging out with such incredible people, and I do it for 2, sometimes 3 hours every week. If I was thinking about it in the forms of like a stand-up comedian, that is headliner material. That is saying like, hey, every Saturday night, like showtime, prime time, I got 2 hours on stage. And to start doing something in that manner, and to see it grow to 500 subscribers, and that's why I can tell you that I am so freaking grateful. I am so appreciative because I get to do this. And I don't have to sit here and say like I only get to do it on a Wednesday for 5 minutes, and if my friends show up and they decided to put me as the last person on the card for, you know, for the stand-up, so I'm literally on stage for my 12 or 14 friends that showed up because they're the only ones who are left in the building. I did that. And I did that because similar to this, I love stand-up comedy. Like that's a whole nother thing, you know. That's why I get along with so many like incredible people, Doc Rock, and we have so much fun in the Let's Get Live community and live streams like that. It's so amazing. And that's, like I said, I go back to being taken back and just amazed at what's happening like right before my eyes. And it's like seeing a plant grow, like seeing a flower blossom, and it's just starting to just take shape, and it's amazing. So once again, thank you. Let me get back to the chat. I used the Mac Mini before, says Sammy. Andre is in the house. How are you doing, sir? Says, what's up? I like the light over the shoulder shot. Oh, yeah, because I have it switching now. That's right. Let me see if I go back to it. Nice. You like the second angle. Thank you, sir. Frack the tech brother? I think that's what he's saying. He says, you're fine, Lewis. He says, keep on celebrating 500 subs and frack the rest. I think that's what you guys say, right? On the guild. The frack with David. Impartial Geek. Frack this. Now you're gonna think like I need to get one of those Go XLRs. All right. So Randall says, I know why your fan is going. Ecamm is powering both cameras at the same time. Go into the settings and turn one of them off until it's using it. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a look at that because I do remember Peter. Now that you mention it, I do remember Peter talking about that. Peter Gregg talking about that feature, and maybe it could help me out. One thing that I just need to be careful about it is that, from what I've been seeing, sometimes it just might go to it, and because the camera's off, it would go into standby within the moment. I have to check it out. I just wouldn't want it to like get bars and actually not have an image. If I get an M1, they can stay on, right? It's just, it says Peter Gregg had the same problem. They fixed it in the settings. Yeah, then you know what? I'll see if I get in contact with them. I'm gonna take a look at it. Tom Buck is in the house. Air horns for Tom, obviously, with the Rodecaster Pro. Says stream. What did he say? Says stream looks and sounds great. Thank you, Tom. How are you doing, sir? Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Elo changed his avatar and now he's in Espanol. And he's saying what's up to Tom Buck. And Tom is waving back. It says great interview on the Hive podcast, Tom Buck. It was a very interesting episode. It was. I learned a lot about Jared. It was a really cool episode. Get the hub on top of your desk for the SD cards. Oh, that's actually a good idea. Because if I do get a hub, and it doesn't even have to be, because this is not even like Thunderbolt 3 or anything. So if I get a hub, well, yeah, I could do it, because the only thing that I would really need is the SD card. But because I have two Mac Minis, I'm gonna need two hubs. I'll take a look at that. Okay, so McNasty here saying, no, that's, why did that one come back up? How about putting the Mac Mini in a cheap PC case with bigger, quieter fans? That's actually not a bad idea, but that would wreck my Apple Cube. This is like a tug of war. I didn't even think this should have been this hard, right? But that's a really good one. Because if I do take this down, I could maybe potentially or I could just Frankenstein this thing. You know what? You gave me an idea. Because maybe I could just Frankenstein the left side of this thing. And now let me explain more or less what I'm talking about. I can get an oversized fan, maybe like a squirrel cage, like one of those cage, what was called the squirrel fan, that is gonna be a lot quieter. It's gonna be pushing like a vertical beam of air, but what I would do is have it completely like outside of the chassis, like literally take the bottom off, and how it's open on the side, I could attach all of that and maybe have it connected, running power even externally, you know, so it's not even, oh man, I'm getting into some like DIY perks type thing now. I'm like I'm gonna get into some do-it-yourself perks on how to jerry rig this Mac Mini to get it to like just overcool. Because if let me take a look at it right now, right? Oh, this is that could be causing a lot of overheating. I did not know that the second display was on. Okay, so right now it says that the load is about 83% on the computer, and that is running at a temperature of 220 degrees Fahrenheit with about 7 gigabytes of RAM available. Don't really have much. One thing that I noticed, which is not something that I do because I like my overlay, but let me show you this. If I run it like this with no overlay, I think it tends to run a lot cooler. So I don't even think it's the second camera. I actually think it's more the frame itself, but in this framing, yeah, not my favorite. Alright, so let's go here. Boom, boom. Okay. Let's get back to this. Okay, so it looks like Dr. Elo's heading out. It says, alright everyone, good night. And MrCameraJunkie kicking ass. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for hanging out. I appreciate you, and get some rest, man. I'm gonna see you next week on one of these streams, maybe one of yours. Scott Rogers in the house. How you doing, sir? You got a short and sweet tip of the day. Only person I know that gets to the point in 30 seconds. You know, those are my YouTube shorts as well, and I've been repurposing all of that content on all of the social medias that are similar to it. So on top of YouTube and doing the YouTube shorts like that, they have been kind of like weirdly satisfying, because it's almost just like I told you today, that I was able to think of a video, put the idea together, make it, shoot it, edit it, audio, music, the whole thing. Now it was only like a minute and 10-second video, but I was able to do all of it in one day because of the fact of how much I've been working on these YouTube shorts, and just like getting to the point, cutting out all the fat, and just saying, hey, you know what, boom, 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 because there is no time for fat, so to speak. And that's a term that we used going back to stand-up comedy. Like, everyone says, oh, you have 30 seconds. I'm like, I don't even think that. I think like a stand-up comedian, they have 10 seconds or less. Like, the first thing that you say out of your mouth on stage needs to be funny. They're gonna judge you right away. And if you can't even get like the presence of a comedian, of like that vibe of just like falling into, hey, I know what I'm talking about, you know, and like it's that's a whole nother conversation, because I really do admire stand-up comedians as an art form, probably to like such a high regard. Okay, I don't take anything away from music. I love music. Everybody loves music. But it's a lot harder to be like a mega successful comedian, like, you know, a everyday household name comedian, than it is to become a rock star, so to speak. You know, and I take nothing away from, you know, music artists, but this is the example that I give. Musicians, singers, bands, all of the above, all the encompass, right? They can continue to replicate the same art that they created over and over again because that's exactly what the public wants. So, for example, let's say you're seeing your favorite artist from when you were young, and you're seeing them as an older person, like a reunion tour or something like that. And now you're watching your favorite band from when you were younger. Now you want to listen to every single one of the songs, every single one of your favorite songs, like you heard it back in the day, like you heard it when you were 13. Okay, because that's where you get like kind of the dopamine fix with music, that nostalgic feeling of like they're saying that music is like a time machine because it can transport you to a time and place because it brings you back to where you first heard it or a feeling that you had, and that's the power of music. But when it comes to the actual art, like they create the art once, and then their goal is to make sure that they don't deviate and that they reproduce that art over and over again. Exactly, because if you go to one of these like reunion tour concerts, the last thing you want to do is hear a remix. You know, like let's say you're gonna go see Kiss on stage or something, and I'm just using it hypothetically. You want to hear your favorite songs from that band the way that they sung them when you were young. You don't want to hear, hey, we put a new twist to it. Like, no, like keep it exactly the same way. And that's what brings me back to the comedians, because as soon as a comedian puts his art out there, these everyday household names when it comes to the comedy world, and they put out like a comedy special, they can't even go tour the next year with the same jokes because everybody's seen that comedy special. And if they go to see you on stage, they want to hear something new. They don't want to hear the same joke that they already heard and that they have, in their DVR. And that's where I say it's so tough, because to continue to stay relevant, you have to continue to produce. There's a such thing as a one-hit wonder in music. You don't find that in comedy. You don't. You either are super consistent and you're able to kind of like be better than that and continuously be trimming the fat, so to speak, becoming the best that you can be as far as comedy goes. And that's why I respect comedians so much, because as soon as they put their art out there, it's consumed and nobody wants the same joke again. So they have to continue to be themselves as a comedian and not use any of their jokes because they put it on tape. It's really tough. Okay, so Andre says, I had an issue with dealing with Adobe Premiere Pro on my iMac, so I re-imaged the computer by setting it back to factory settings. It runs so much better. Congratulations on 500. Thank you, sir. But you did exactly what you should have done with that computer. You understand? Just reset it, especially Macs. You just reset it, reinstall, and you'll see how. And we were talking about that with Randall. That's what I did with these Mac Minis. I totally took everything. Like the machine that I'm running here on the left, literally have nothing except the things that I use for the live stream. Excuse me, hydration time. All right. Okay, so hey, who brought the Aces, Lewis? Oh, the snacks. That's what he was trying to say. I don't know. I think you were supposed to bring snacks. But now that you're talking about that, you're going to get me think that, I might get me some celebratory 500 subscriber Krispy Kreme donuts. That could be a possibility, Yeah, I thought hard about that right now. I was just like, oh yeah, that could be a possibility. How do you plan your videos? I'm still developing a format, but still coming together. That's a great question. He follows up with, "Do I make a script?" I do, but I don't. My script is like I just told you right now. I've just gotten to the point where I'm having an idea, and I pop in my AirPods, and I use the microphone to dictate onto my notes app. So I just have it dictating, and it's listening to me while I'm speaking, like I'm speaking to you. So that's helped me a lot. But the reason why I have been doing that is because I've been doing that on the days that I can't actually record. So I'm building my system now, and with Aiden, that he requires a lot from me, and there's times where I have no idea what it is that he wants, but he just needs my attention, and I need to drop what I'm doing and pay attention to my baby boy. So with that being said, I'm having the ideas of what I want to record on camera, and it really falls into that same category of just like I need to just dump it out of my brain, because if not, it's gonna be like gone with the wind. So when I have the idea on the parts or the subjects that I think about the most, when whatever it is, whether I'm making a product review, I'm making a product review on how I would use the product. Like that's the best that I can give you. Like I just shot a video today, part of this whole thing, where I'm doing a lens review, so to speak, or a video. Let me say this correctly. I'm making a video about the video quality of the Sony A6100, but because I'm that guy who says glass before ass, that the optics are more important, how am I gonna make a video about video without talking about lenses? So I'm making a 3 lens comparison on the Sigma 16mm, the 10-18 OSS f4, the f4 OSS, and the kit lens. And I'm using all of them at 16mm to notice the differences on how you would use the 16mm / 24mm equivalent on the A6100 with either of those lenses. Because the 10-18 is really wide at 10mm, but it's very fisheye, and I don't like the look. So just even using that lens, I'm still using it at 16mm. So if I'm using that lens at 16mm, kind of like spoiler, I'm gonna be gravitating toward the 16mm from Sigma, because it's rectilinear and it doesn't give me any of that fisheye effect. Excuse me. Okay, so regardless, that's basically, all encompassing. Like I started looking on making a lens review between 3 lenses, and oh my god, all the footage, because you have the 3 different lenses, you have variable aperture on all 3 of the lenses, you have variable focal lengths on all 3, and then kind of the cherry on top, you have 4K and high definition. So it's like you're comparing the 3 lenses with all the 3 different things that you can vary on, and you have to do it twice because you do have the difference between high definition and 4K. So I recorded all that footage today as far as the B-roll aspect, even though I haven't yet put down on paper like the script, because I haven't thought of how, I haven't completed my feelings on my tests yet. I want to look at the actual footage that I got to see, in sincerity, if I can notice a difference between the lenses. How good is the kit lens comparative to the other 2 that cost so much more? And yeah, so it's just, those are like, that's one of the aspects that I'm still learning myself on, how to put all of this content together into a streamlined fashion. But going back to it, because I don't have the ability with my son to just sit down and record as soon as I have the idea, I have to put it down on paper. Even if it is just like the main idea, the cliff note, so to speak. And once I have that, then it's kind of like, when going back to it, it's like kind of like writing that joke on the piece of paper and putting it in my back pocket. I'll get to it when I need to, you know. So then when I do have the time, like on a Saturday now and stuff like that, to control the environment and record, I'm going ahead and doing a lot of that recording. And I was doing like lens tests outdoors. So outdoors, kind of like vlogging style, getting that footage. I'm not relying too much on the audio. Neighbors are making noise, but I was able to record the footage so that now, once I am completed with my idea and my assessment of these tests, is when I'll sit down to say, like, oh, like if I was talking to you, like if I was talking to you guys here in the chat, and just sit down in front of my iPhone and dictate to it my feelings, my thoughts, and how I would express them to you, like I do on the live streams weekly. And then when I have that written down, I put that down, and then when I have the time to record, I just go to my notes, and I'm able to just say the same idea over again onto the camera, like regurgitate how I felt again, because I'm able to read exactly, like, because it's me. I don't know if that helps, but that's the way that I've been working as of late, because I've been looking into how to batch record my videos. The other thing, Andre, to let you know, is that I do all of my recordings when my little guy is asleep. And I mostly do them around this time, midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning, because that's where you're going to have the least amount of airplanes in the air, cars on the road, people making noise. After 10 o'clock is an ordinance, right? Like for noise level. With that being said, past midnight, you're going to kind of definitely be in the clear that you're not going to be hearing a lot of noise. And with my son being asleep, that's when I'm able to put the lights kind of like this dim, have him staying there on the side, and I'm able to press record. And because I'm not blasting any music, I'm able to record the talking head aspects, and I get good sound quality because this is not a sound treated room, but I'm able to keep all the outside noises that normally would be in play down. And if it wasn't for this M1 Mac, I mean, if I had the M1 Mac, not this mini old version of it, you wouldn't even hear the fan. And I think we'd be getting like optimal sound here, even though it's not a well treated room for sound. Okay. The shortest pencil, that's a great quote right there. Look, the shortest pencil is longer than the longest memory. Dude, you know what? Thank you for that. And I'm glad that it's here recorded, on this live stream, because I'll always be able to come back to that and read that. That's such a dope quote. The shortest pencil is longer than the longest memory. Dope. Love it. Lewis, how long? Oh, skipped over here. Says Lewis, why did it go to Glenn's? Lewis, how long did it take you to go from 1 to 500 subs? That's a really cool, that's a really good question. My first sub was probably like my mom, myself from my other account, just testing things out. But I think my first video upload, the way that this journey started was, my first video upload was, I believe, in October. September, October of 2018. Was it? No, I don't even think so. I think that's when I opened the account in 2018, but I really didn't do anything until like September 2019 was when I actually uploaded my first video. I had gotten the name MrCameraJunkie. It was the idea. That's basically how, like, you started with the idea, like the name, like, oh, MrCameraJunkie. The reason why, to let you know that I chose MrCameraJunkie, is mostly because of the photography. When I was getting back into the photography, I looked up my name and there was like 700 Luis Vega photographies in Florida alone. I was like, yeah, I could do my best for, and I believe, Sammy, if you're still here, David Blackman was talking about this, that he's got some famous fiddler in Georgia who has his same name. And even though he's been putting out content for 10 years, he can't surpass like that, like being found under his name, no matter how hard he tries. And that's something that I kind of knew that I was like, I don't want to deal with. So that's when I decided to go with MrCameraJunkie, because nobody has that name. And to give a good example, there's also another YouTuber that I follow. His name is Potato Jet. The actual, person who owns the channel, his name is Gene Nagata. But that would have been a lot harder and not as catchy as Potato Jet. And Potato Jet now, huge channel. He seems like such a cool guy. Love the content that he creates. But now he has even a separate channel with his regular name, because it's kind of like a spin-off from the Potato Jet channel. So with that being said, is like, once I had the idea for MrCameraJunkie, I took out the name, and that's when I just sat on it, because I didn't even know what I was going to do with the YouTube channel at that aspect, and then just used it to watch videos. And that's when I started learning about YouTube itself and how it works. That's when I first subscribed to a channel ever, and it started rolling from there. So 2019, it's right there. I can go back into my channel to let you know, but around there, September, October, is when I uploaded my first video to give back to the YouTube community that had given me so much, from an AC certification to like all the great information to refuel my passion in photography. And with that, I was doing it for fun and to give back, and not expecting really anything. And in that journey, you come across certain people, individuals, and one of them being Nick Nimmin from the Nimminati. And he would always mention, he's like, hey, you know what? Even if you're doing this for fun, think about things seriously. And that stuck with me. And it being my passion, then starting with that video, just a couple months after my first video was when Josh Yo from the channel Make Art Now, big ups to Josh Yo, man. He held a kind of like a New Year's challenge, and it was about sound design, on how to create the background sound effects and the Foley art on a video. And he put out the challenge, and I remember that I can't even tell you how many subscribers I had at that time, probably like 15, because, and maybe not even, it wasn't even something that I was paying attention to, But he held that challenge, and I remember that when he posted the video, I remember writing in the comments like, "Oh, challenge accepted." You know, like I'm gonna do this, and I put it out there. You know, and I wrote it on his YouTube channel video, and that's what held me accountable to my own words, because I put it out there. I'm not gonna lie, life gets in the way, and I procrastinated for the 2 weeks that I had in the challenge, and then it comes about that it's the day of the deadline, and I have nothing. I had the idea, you know, and my idea was exactly this: was, hey, I have a Mr. Fix-It business where I fix iPhone. Let me kill two birds with one stone, right? This is what I was thinking. Let me kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to make a video for the challenge, Make Art Now, but I'm going to make it because he gave us the ability to make it about whatever we wanted. I'm going to make it based around my cell phone repair business, so that worst case scenario, I'm not wasting my time, and I will actually have a kind of like a finished product 30-second video to promote my business. And that way I kill two birds with one stone. Still, with that being said, I procrastinated, and it was the day of the submission, and I had the idea that I wanted to do for the video, but I half-assed it, you know. I put it together as fast as I possibly could, and like a evening, I was able to put everything together. And I would say probably from like around 6 o'clock to midnight, I was able to put all these things together and have the raw footage that I needed for the video. Now that I had that footage, the next step was I needed the sound effects, because it was a Foley art challenge. Now, I could have sat there and jumped onto Epidemic Sound, which was part of the challenge, I believe, and started trying to pull out all of these sound effects on a platform that I did not know how to use. So I scratched that idea because I had all the parts, all the iPhones and everything that I needed for the video, that I started recording all of the sounds, and I started making sound effects for all the things that I needed at midnight. At this time, midnight being the cutoff point of the video, or the video submission. At that point, excuse me. At that point, I'm thinking, I already missed the deadline. Now I'm just doing this because I'm holding myself accountable. I'm not really trying to win anything. I'm just trying to complete something and hold myself accountable. So, with that, right, I continued to make the sound effects. I sat down and I edited the video. I added the sound effects, and I submitted it to the Instagram. I remember roughly at 2:58. It was like 2:57, 2:58, just a couple minutes before 3 o'clock in the morning, where to me, I'm like, I uploaded it 3 hours late. The cutoff was midnight. Well, the following week, Josh Yo decides to say, hey, we're going to go over the submissions of the people who submitted to the challenge, and we're going to do it live. And I was just pulling into my house when I got the notification. I'm like, cool. I'm going to eat dinner, and I'm going to watch Josh Yo and see who submitted what to this challenge that I kind of flaked on. With that, what I failed to realize was that the cutoff was midnight Pacific time, because Josh Yo lives in California. And even though I thought I was 3 hours late, I was still 3 minutes early, or 3 minutes before the deadline. Not early, but before the deadline. And as I'm watching the live stream, my video comes up, and I didn't win anything, but I got Joshio to give me like an applause and a well done, like a pat on the back. And that really, like, it opened my eyes to something. I was like, how much better could that video have been if I didn't mail it in? If I didn't put some thought into it. And that's where it started to change my channel from just saying like, hey, I'm just doing this for fun, you know, to like do a Joshio challenge, to like, maybe if I put a little effort, I could be, you know, a cut above just, you know, like a standard content creator. You know, someone who's just, you know, and nothing that I'm taking away from what I'm trying to say, but, you know, somebody who's just like uploading videos of their kids. So that's what, you know, where it took it a little bit away from, this could be a little bit more than just for fun. And that opened up my eyes, and I think that's where the nicknames fall into place and start telling you like, hey, you know what, you might have started this for fun, but you might have fallen onto something viable and you don't even know it. Look at it from this point of view. And it was from that point, to say the beginning of the year, to just December. Like, I think it was December 6th. So well over a year before I got to my first 100 subscribers, and that was well over a year from my first actual video upload. So I would say about like 14 months, roughly. That's when it comes full circle. 2020, December 3rd, I'm doing a live stream talking about my little boy because it was his birthday. And the following day, I go on to Peter Gregg's live stream. And the day after that is when I meet Doc Rock and hop on his live stream and get involved with the whole LGL community that he was just starting months prior, and that community has grown leaps and bounds, and that's such an amazing community. And the support that I get from them, from all of you guys, from so many other content creators that I'm fortunate enough to be in contact with, that it just brings it back full circle. And I have to say thank you once again to everyone here, because everyone who's showed up, everyone who's given a thumbs up on my videos, everyone who's left a comment in my chat, like, you guys you guys don't know, man. I thank you so much. I love doing this, and I'm glad that you guys find value in what I do, because it just makes it such an awesome symbiotic relationship where it's just so cool. Do I have to explain more than that, right? It's just so cool. Just so cool. And I'm thankful. I'm appreciative. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, so the question was that I ranted on for a while was, how long did it take you to go from 1 to 500 subs? So from right now, then, if we think about it, from 15 months, I would have to add 5 months. So I would say just a couple months under, or like 3 months, right? I would say like 3 months under 2 years. But honestly, I started taking things seriously, and started producing consistent content in December. So December right? The month of December, the month of January, February, March, April. 5 more months. So that's about what I can say. Man, I'm still in shock. 500. Like, I've been in front of rooms and I've spoken in front of crowds of 3,000 people. I've also done, the comedy stand up where I'm in front of 200. And 200 people in such tight knit like quarters is an amazing sight to see. And to think that there's more than double that in this community now, part of the Camera Junkie family, the Camera Junkie crew. Yes, sir. Okay, so Mr. Camera Junkie, what do you think of IMAX colors, etc.? I like them, the back more than the front, though. The back more than the front, though. Yeah, the one thing is, like, I like the way they look, but I'm kind of like a simple guy. Like, I like the gunmetal and the aluminum finish. So there's a couple of things that I would honestly tell you. When it comes to the colors, they look nice. I personally would not recommend anyone to purchase any Mac of any color unless you're willing to pay more in the long run, because it's going to be a lot harder for you to resell that computer because of the color in the future. You got to understand that that's just the way that things work. And I can tell everyone from my experience with iPhones, the iPhone with the red back, so much harder to sell when you upgrade and you want to get value from your high priced device, and you want to move on from it, because it has a red back instead of just a black back or a silver back. Why? Because you're limiting your market. Apple can do this specifically because they're catering to a much bigger market. But on the resale aspect, when you're trying to get your money back from it, I personally, if I'm looking at an iMac in the future, right, I don't want no purple iMac or an orange iMac or anything like that. It's like, and sometimes, sometimes, not always, but sometimes these colors are trendy and then they become date stamps. When you take a look at a color and you be like, oh yeah, I remember when Apple came out with that hunter green iMac. Pff. Oh, and then as soon as you see that color on the iMac, it can be the latest version, but it looks like the old one. Even, hypothetically, it won't be the newer version or the older version looking like the old one, hypothetically. But I think you understand what I'm saying. Like, the look itself could let you know how old the vehicle is. That's why, some people knock on them, but Porsche, as the car company, a lot of their vehicles look identical, right? That people can't tell the difference. But that's part of the lure, because you can buy that vehicle today and know that 20 years from now it's not gonna look outdated, crazy as it sounds. But now if you have a lime green Porsche, I also think it's still gonna be harder to resell it, right? So if you know that you're gonna have this computer for the rest of your life, which no computer ever does that, that's when I would say I personally would just go for plain Jane, maybe in all black if they have it, because that would look really nice if they make, what they call the chin at the bottom of the iMacs all black and the stand black, so that it meshes with the screen and you just see the bright display come through like all of the darkness. I think that would look amazing. I don't know if that's one of the options, but if you have an all black one, silver, space gray, those would be the only ones that I would pick. That's just me. It says 6 months from December last year. Well, if we include this month, but we just started May. So we just completed 4 months and December, so that would be 5 months. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right? December, the beginning of December, and the entirety of that month. 1 month. The entirety of the month of January, February, March, and now April. That we're on May 2nd. That's 5 months. At least that's the way I count. Maybe I'm wrong. It says, what do you think, Mr. Camera Junkie? I think if we're talking about the IMAX, you know. It says, that's amazing, brother. Randall, very impressive. Okay, so Randall, let me see what he says here. I like the white border better than the big border on the older Mac. Yeah, and the thing is that the people who are complaining about this are not, like, it's not even Apple. I like the way that the new iMacs look with the chin at the bottom. Like, I don't see that as being a problem. And the thing is that people who are complaining about people who take these current models and then they Photoshop like what they hypothetically want. I'm like, the computer is like this thin all the way through. It's got this incredible retina display, 5K image, and all of the components are on this little strip at the bottom that is part of like Porsche's aesthetic. Like, you look at the iMac and you know it's an iMac. If you were to take the chin away from the iMac, it will look like an iPad Pro sitting on a stand without the keyboard, and then you would say, why isn't this touchscreen? You're starting a whole different conversation. The reason why it has a chin and it doesn't, have a touchscreen is because it's an iMac. And if you want something different, they have iPad Pros with keyboards and the whole thing. So they have everything to cater, but people just want everything, but then all in one. Like, no, I just want one device. I'm like, no, pick your poison, so to speak. It says, yeah, white, not my favorite, but I do like them. Exactly. It wouldn't be your favorite. Like I said, you can do it, but when it comes to the resale value, or unless you're just going to give it away to a family member or something like that, which is like, hey, then the color really doesn't matter. Make it match your aesthetic. But I also feel that if you get like an orange iMac, a green one, a blue one, a pink one, whatever colors that they have, then your furnishings have to kind of match that as well, because it's gonna kind of be a piece that's mixed in with your life. So now if you decide to change your entire aesthetic of your living surroundings, and you're like, I don't want to deal with this pink color anymore, and now I want to use oranges, how are you going to change the color of your Mac? So if you had a silver, does that matter? No, because it's just a computer. That's how I feel. Apple would hate me. They were like, we're trying to sell colors here, player. Like, come on, man. Like, help us out. And I'm over here like, nope, gray. Gray colors, silver, space gray, or all black. Keep it simply stupid. Randall's giving the thumbs up. It says, try the iMac. I was using Ecamm with the 2012 iMac. Sammy, you keep mentioning this. I can't even iterate to you how my iMac throttles uncontrollably and just starts shooting like if it's having a nuclear meltdown while I watch YouTube videos for my son. I put the YouTube videos for my kid there, and this thing, to explain, Sammy, just so that you know, you think you hear this fan Oh no. If that's on, it sounds like the air conditioner is on the back. It sounds like you're hearing this like Armageddon windstorm coming off of that iMac. It's hilarious. I just sometimes look at it. I'm like, you're not doing nothing. You're playing a YouTube video. This thing is going. It's so funny, so funny. You know what, Sammy? You know what? I might catch you on a live. You know what? If you find me on an Ecamm thing like this, I'm gonna run it while we test some audio and see if I can do that interview mode, because I need to get into the community and run some tests that way. You will hear it for yourself. You think you hear? Excuse me. Woo. You think you hear this fan, Sammy? Oh, you'll feel the wind from that one through the live stream. You just be like, turn down the fan, player. So, dude, I have put mini ITX mainboards inside bigger cases, which cool the components, keep cooler. It's a good idea. It is a good idea. You know, I give it up to McNasty. Like, that was a great idea because I do have bigger cases. I have this full ATX case down here that's old. Really, like, it's old. Yeah, it's old. Like, it's got this huge radiator with a huge fan. That's basically, you know, like the only reason why I still have it under my desk. That's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe I could just strap that onto this thing over here and then run the fan silently off of secondary power source and just disconnect the internal fan here and have that cooling it. Yep. Ooh, I got ideas right now. Sorry for the silence, guys. That's these guys giving me like these ideas. Another thing I can do is I can literally just remake a side panel out of foam board and attach a big fan to it to just maybe overpressurize the heat sink and the entire internal components with just cool air, instead of having this smaller fan trying to kick all the heat out to keep it small. That is a very viable idea because I can put a much bigger fan, you know, here, for example. A fan like this, much bigger, but that I can keep much quieter. And if I can keep the PC from thermal throttling, boom. That's a win and a win. I might have to sacrifice. That's a desk fan. I do that stuff all the time. You know, to have a desk fan here is really tough. So basically I have a USB plug connected to that fan. So I just connect it to any USB, like either plug on a power strip or to any computer, and it just kicks on the fan. Fan anywhere. Okay, so Randall says the iMac 24 is probably what you need. 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 storage with the 4.5K graphics. How much are those going for? I think they were going for like $2,000. I would have to see. I know I need to invest in myself, but I need to have to invest in myself. So Randall's saying, you mean the new one? I think that's what he's talking about, the iMac 24, because the new ones are the 24. And yep, and he says, yep. He says, don't buy it. Oh, if Sammy's saying don't buy it, that means he's got a little scoop. And I know this man's in touch with Mr. Apple, Rene Ritchie. That dude, Rene Ritchie's on another level, bro. That dude. Let me not even get into that. That's a whole nother conversation. Where we're at here? Oh, we're getting close on 2 hours. Okay. It says I use the M1 MacBook Air with 8 gigabytes of RAM, 512 of storage. Let me move this over here. It says 512 of storage with no fan plus 2560 by 1600 screen. Quiet. It goes, or the new iMac 32-inch this fall. I know that whatever it is that I get, I'm gonna want to make sure that I'm not gonna have to get another device. But the thing is, let me be real with you guys. If I'm using this old tech and somehow I'm making it work, what do you think I'll be able to do with newer tech? I'll be able to just run circles. I'll be able to make more content faster. So these are the things that I'm working on. I'm working with my limitations, but hey, you can't put the cart before the horse. Just gotta work with what you got, you know. And I'm fortunate because I have more than other people do. You know, right now I'm saying like, oh, I need to upgrade this because that is like, to me, my weakest point in this chain. But besides that, I'm sitting here and how could I complain? Like, I have high quality cameras, 2 of them giving me various angles, and I'm like surrounded by Apple devices, you know. I have 2 Apple keyboards controlling 2 Apple Mac minis. I have 2 iPads, one doing my sound effects. The other one is literally set up here where I can go and have it ready so that if we would want to watch a video or check anything on the internet, it's as simple as pulling up Safari and we're good to go, you know. And it's at a I'm really liking the fact that I can just touch it and bring it up. It's being very responsive, and because it's an iPad, it's doing all of the processing. So it's doing all of the heavy lifting, and the only thing that the computer and eCam has to do now is literally just, you know, produce the signal that is giving right through eCam. And big ups to eCam that sees all of these devices and is able to control them so easily. So, like I said, I'm thankful for what I got. A little fan noise, it's not gonna kill anyone, and I'm grateful with what I have. I just don't see that these prices are gonna be going down, guys. To tell you the truth, you know, we're talking about a worldwide shortage. Peter Gregg was talking about this last night, and it's real. Like, these things, the silicon that we use for all of these devices that go into the cameras, that go into every smartphone, that go into every coffee maker now. Teslas have multiples running full-fledged iPads that need like iPad cars, you know, like that need firmware updates, and there's so much stuff now. That's what I'm saying. Even a simple refrigerator carries like some type of smart chip device so that it can like synchronize with a Bluetooth so that you can set your coffee, or it can let the store know when you're running out of milk. Oh my god, so much stuff. And because everything now carries a smart chip, like brain that's built on silicon, why do you think there was such a shortage of PlayStations and Xboxes coming out and laptops? Like, because that resource, that rare earth element that we were taking and using to make these computer devices is now being pulled or being yanked from every industry worldwide. And that's why there's a shortage, because it could only make so much, and it can't be produced everywhere. Before, it was just produced for the computer market, then the computer and cellular market, and then now like the laptop. Like growing exponentially, and we're talking about how fast technology is rushing. Well, this is how fast, to the point where I think we're bottlenecking, which is a term that we use in the computer world. But excuse me, let me hydrate. Well, like I was saying, a term that we use in the computer world, excuse me, is bottlenecking, where you're trying to kind of cram more than what's available as far as bandwidth. Almost like 5 cars trying to get out of one exit on a highway because there's a really bad accident. So everyone's just trying to cram. And even though the light's green, nobody's moving because they can't sort out the mess fast enough to get a steady flow of vehicles moving out. So I believe when it comes to the silicone production, that's where we've reached a bottleneck. We're asking more than can what be actually let out and produced. So before, maybe they had a surplus. We've reached the consumption of the surplus, and now we're at real time with their production, and technology is growing, and the real time production of these chips cannot match the real time requirements of where they're being placed everywhere. You know, televisions did not require silicone back in the day. That is a given, that all televisions run off of the same rare earth element. So, once again, I digress. Let me see. It says Wishlist. Every time you buy something new, it will be outdated the next year. It's true. That's what I said. Like, I really don't worry, but that's the whole thing. What I'm hoping on, right, is that I'm going to come across somebody's used M1 because they're just going to need to get the new iMac, and now they don't have the use for the mini, and because they bought it at $700, maybe $600, I can snag up maybe one for $500. If I can get a used M1 for $500, that sounds viable, because a used M1 mini is going to outperform, like I said, everything that I have here regardless. So it'll just be like an addition that maybe will take over. Tom Buck talks about this. You know, I don't know if he's still here hanging out, but Tom Buck talks about this, that he bought the M1 Mini only for live streaming, and it took over everything because it does everything so efficiently that he just keeps loading stuff into it, and it just keeps pumping it out like nothing. So it's like he sold his laptop because of this fact, because his M1 was doing everything and then some. It wasn't even breaking a sweat. Not like me. Right now it looks like it's getting warm up in this place. It could be my Mac. My Mac is starting to work like a furnace here and starting to heat things up. Actually, I think it was more the coughing. Give me a second. All right. Let's continue here. Said I just did a stream with Rene Ritchie where he said the iMac 24 inch is the same as the Mac Mini. You see, then if it's the same as the Mac Mini, I will get the Mac Mini. Why? You can put whatever screen you want on the Mac Mini. If in the future you want to get one of those curved 49-inch screens, change it, and that's it. Now, if you buy the 24-inch Mac, the iMac, You can buy a secondary screen, but you're literally stuck on that screen. You can't work with it. That's why I'm telling you, like, I love these Mac Minis. I preferred the Mac Mini over the iMac, even in this older form, because of the convenience factor. Right now I have two televisions, 220 hertz televisions running as my monitors. So I got the live stream running on my right side, and I'm able to check it out so that I don't have to run the live stream on the left side to see that it's still going out and things like that. None of that is necessary at the moment. So just like little tweaks. It says agreed, especially with the OLED. Oh, the OLED TVs, yeah. Everything has silicone chips in it now. That's what I'm telling you, like everything. Okay, let's see what this says. I agree, but it comes to a monitor that has two fans, maybe faster than the MacBook Pro 13. And that's the whole thing. Let me also show you. My best Mac computer. This guy right here. This is my 2015, right? Or 2016 MacBook Pro. It's an i7 processor. Also has 16 gigs RAM, a 500 gigabyte SSD hard drive. This is my workhorse when it comes to photography. This is the machine that I do all of my photo editing on. I can set up a hard drive specifically for that. I've done the thermal paste on it, but because of the small form factor, that thing sounds louder than that. And I've just turned it on to do photo editing, like my Photoshop. And when those fans kick on, man, they kick on. It says a lot of people want bigger screens. Yeah, like me. And it's not only that, Randall. This is stuff that people don't talk about. Screens break. Accidents happen. Telling you from a guy who does repairs, and sometimes I would just tell them that the price for the repair was so costly because they went and they purchased the Retina display screen, and their kid took a hammer to it or something happened and cracked the screen LCD, and we have to replace the whole thing just to get that data out. Hypothetically, if something like that were to happen to this screen right now, my computer's fine. I just unplug the HDMI cable, plug it into another monitor, another TV, keep on trucking, Worst case scenario, it's defective because you can't get the readout, you change the monitor. So many options. Yeah, definitely. Something stuck back there. I choked on a little bit of my own saliva, and here we go. When you get that scratchy throat, that's where I'm at right now. It says the Mac Mini will be great. I use the Mac Mini M1 streaming 4K. I have Adobe things open, Final Cut. I have no problem. Yeah. Like I said, the only thing that would be if I do need to render a completely different file, you can only have one Final Cut Pro open. With two Mac Minis, I have two Final Cut Pros open completely. So I could be doing kind of like the same exact thing, but on two different computers right there, and rendering in real time on two different computers. That's a really cool feature for what I do. So, with that being said, the M1 would have to be really, really fast so that I'd be able to edit and then export in less time that it would take me to just jump on another computer and start another project. If that makes sense, if I was able to explain that. Okay, it says the iMac is $1899 with 16,512. The Mac Mini is $1,029 for 16,512. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because with the price difference of like $900, that's very close to one of those extreme wide, either like 38 or 49 inch, that. Because that would be really, really nice. Not, shooting for the stars, but one of those 49-inch monitors, those curved, instead of having two. I feel the little itchiness in the back of my throat. I'm trying to clear it. Let's see. That's interesting. It says, MrCameraJunkie, how about you make a Discord? Dude, you know what? I just gave me some really good ideas, including this one, sir. So I want to thank you. Yeah, everyone's always talking about Discords. I need to look into them, and I can start my own Discord. Start the Camera Junkie Discord. And now that I have 500 subscribers, you know what? That's something that we can shoot for. Dude, you're awesome, bro. Thanks for the tips. That's a great idea. It says Sammy Superstar, not including the 65-inch TC keyboard and mouse soundbar if you use one. Alicia Way saying, we live. I don't know if I sounded like your actual skit. We live. Says, I like this tune. Yeah, I like that song too. It says, I'm writing my script now. Yeah. The best thing that I can tell you, Andre, is to just write it like if you were talking to your friend. Like a note to your friend. Like, how would you communicate to your friend? Because that's how I see all of you guys. You just, the fam. So I make sure that I try to speak to you the same way that I speak. And then second, if I'm trying to, teach something, I try to put my own little twist on it. Like, I made a video about ISO. And yeah, ISO has its correct meaning, but when it comes to photography, I made it like increasing sensitivity output, ISO, because that was my own little twist to better explain what ISO does to your camera. It increases the sensitivity of light input into your sensor. Couple of U-Haul moving blankets, fix the sound and make a quieter corner. Also the Waze cam and the watch your son. Get a Waze cam to watch my son. I'll check that out. When I have to take a look. But my little guy, he's good. Now, the moving blankets, what I really need to do is get a dynamic microphone compared to a condenser, because like I said, this picks up everything. But if I'm able to keep something a little bit closer, because the fall off, meaning like if I were to move away, it'll be like a lot quieter. Just the distance between the microphone itself and the fan noise here, it should regulate a lot of what it's picking up. But we'll figure that out, because I actually think a pod mic will do me just fine. But I am gonna get some moving blankets as well. I already had that in like a list to go to Harbor Freight and just grab some. Sammy saying wow about something. Andre said, I watch Potato Jet and I always see you in Nick Niman's super chat. That's what's up, MCJ, but Never catch it. Yeah, I'm always there. That's part of like, that's been part of my routine for a while now, which is Friday nights I do a live stream at Peter Gregg. Then from there, you know, after I go to sleep, I wake up with Nick Nimmin. He didn't have a live stream this morning, which sucked. Apparently, his internet was down. He's on the other side, you know, of the map, so to speak. He's way out there. But yeah, he didn't have a live stream. It felt a little weird because I usually wake up every Saturday with his live stream. Then I do my own on a Saturday night. And after that, tomorrow I will be on Professor Nez's live stream around 12:30 Eastern, I believe. Give me a second, guys. Just drying off my forehead because I'm like cooking over here. It's not the lights either because these are LEDs. These don't even make heat. It says I watch Potato Jet super chat. Sammy says true. I think he was talking about the super chat thing. Says this is a cool idea. Okay. He goes, ha ha ha, that's a funny story. I don't know which one I was talking about right now. I can't recall which story. Let's see. Says good night everyone. Congratulations those getting 500 subs. Great stream as always. Unfortunately I have to work on Sunday. Sir, I appreciate you as always. Have a great night. Get some rest. Like you, always working harder than the rest of the people there, man. You're something else. Alright, so Sammy's saying good night. Oh, Nano's here. Tech for your needs. Saying hello, folks. It says iMac Chin is there because it's TBS components under it. I know. And where are you gonna have the USBs and all this stuff? It's like people ask for the impossible and for no reason. It says iMac D-brand skin. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm thinking you're talking about the colors. You know? Okay, let's skip this song. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna do something. Hold on with me, guys. That song is there for a different reason. You know, like that specific to a project that I'm working on. But somehow it made it onto this track here. So now I'm able to hit the menu and delete it. Okay. So now it's no longer on this chip. Okay, I actually think I cleared it now. I think I cleared my throat, that itchiness that I was going, so I feel a lot better when it comes to speaking. Okay. Tech for your needs says the D-brand skin. Okay. Oh, it does. Ha ha ha. That's crazy, says Sammy. Wow. Okay. Lost it saying, hey Sammy. Nano. Ex-Marine here saying, look at how it just creeps back up. Okay. He says, I use an Electro Voice RE20 and it excludes all of the noise along with the Mode 2 M4 USB interface. See? That's one, but I believe the RE20 is also a dynamic, which is what I'm going to need. You know, the cardioid is cardioid pattern on a dynamic microphone, I think is exactly what I need. I might need to bring it a little bit closer, but the whole thing is that even the way that it is right now, I have plenty of gain to boost up, so that if it were a dynamic similar to this when it comes to like a studio microphone, I should be able to have it like the same distance and get the quality of sound that I want. Like, I'm happy with the sound. It's just unfortunate that it's picking up the extra sound of the fan. Kippy's in the house. He's saying, well done on 500 subs. Thank you, sir. It says, that's how I feel. I still firm on the Sony A5000 and my channel is growing. No complaints. Yeah. And if you have no complaints, then there's no need. And that's a great thing. When I spoke to somebody else, I don't remember exactly who it was. I don't know if it was you. But I believe they had this camera and they were like, oh, should I upgrade? And I'm like, no, if you were to do anything, get a better lens. Because the lens is going to get you a much better image quality above before the camera will. And you will still have the lens whenever you decide to upgrade to the camera. Maybe in the future when the camera that you want is at a, at a better price. I cannot kick this itchiness in the back of my throat. Nano is saying congrats on 500 subs. Thank you very much, sir. I'm like in shock. McNasty also saying congrats on 500. Sammy saying true. The Jetsons is becoming reality. You want to hear a funny story about that? I was working before my son was born, right? I was working at the shop. And I had this young intern there, helping me answer phone calls, things like that. He was learning about the repairs that I was doing. And I remember we were talking about the Apple Watch, and that the Apple Watch, I think Generation 2 had just come out around that time. And they're talking about the Wi-Fi capabilities, so on and so forth. And I mentioned to him because we already had FaceTime, or Face ID at that time. I was like, imagine, that pretty soon we're going to get, what's it called? I never use it. FaceTime, video chat, I was like, pretty soon we're going to get, I can't get the words out right now. Look at my throat. This is what I was trying to tell him. I said with the Apple Watch, maybe the Generation 3, we're going to get FaceTime on the Apple Watch and truly will be living in the days of the Jetsons. And I said that specifically, just like that. And he looked at me dead in my face and said, what are the Jetsons? And I was like, you're fired. I was like, you're fired. Like, get out of here for making me feel old because I referenced the Jetsons. Like, get out of here. Obviously, I was kidding. When I looked at him dead in your face, I was like, you're fired. You're done. Like, you're dead to me. You're dead. He said, what was the Jetsons? I was like, that killed me. It killed me a little inside. But yes, the Jetsons is becoming reality. Besides flying cars and things like that, but when it comes to the face-to-face communication, yeah, everything is smart. Yeah, not necessarily, but technologically, it does fall into the smart category. There's a lot of stupid smart devices, if you know what I mean. Says, I'm typing on my iPad Pro 2020 11 inches with the Magic Keyboard. He's got a question. First question of the day. What is the one device that you need on the daily? Well, the one that I need on my daily is my iPhone. I'm not going to lie. I do the majority of my business from my iPhone. It does everything for me when it comes to the business. It handles my text messages, it handles my emails, it handles all my social media accounts, right? So all the message chats that I have running concurrently on all my social medias, it handles that. Like, if it was one thing that I can say, like, if I had to give up everything and I could only work on one device, it would be my iPhone. It just would. Now, complementary devices in the Apple ecosystem, yes. But because of what I do, not as a content creator, but as a cell phone repair technician, I need it. The cellular data, I remember the days where people would go into Best Buy to buy a TomTom GPS unit that only lived in their car. Apple killed TomTom. Think about that. Apple just straight killed TomTom GPS and say, "Oh, iPhone's got a GPS built right into it. You can. Oh, you don't like TomTom? You can download a different app and still use the GPS and use that as. Oh, you don't like the way that one speaks to you? Use this GPS and it'll speak to you in Russian." Every option that you could want was built into the iPhone, and it still is there. That's why if it's one device that I would say, if I would have to shrink all of my production, and that's including what I try to do here, no, well, better said, what I do here, if I were to try to do it, I would still be able to like go live. I would probably be able to still put a better microphone for better audio on the iPhone. So many things that I think that outdoes my computer and a lot of different things. Now, when it comes to my photography, that's a whole different thing because the iPhone is probably the last thing that I would use for my photography. From start to finish. Like, I don't really take photos with my iPhone. I don't do iPhone editing, like besides simple things on like Snapseed. So when it comes to that, that's gonna be really tough because if it was say one device, I don't think I would have one device. There's no one device for my photography like the iPhone that I would say I'm gonna do everything with it, because I would need at least one camera and then maybe my MacBook Pro to say like, okay, just one device, but they would be in unison, like together. That's very interesting. Because when it comes to photography, there is, to me at least, there is no one device that will be able to just take care of everything. Because even if I were to decide to say like, oh, it was the cameras, like, oh, I'm gonna pick my A6100 or my A7R2 and say like, oh, I could just deal with a full frame camera, so I can't really edit the photos the way to my liking for what I do and with portraits straight out of the camera. Wow. Okay. But that was a great question. Thanks, Nano. It says you can get the M1 used for 500. I think I could. I think I could manifest that. I think I could just continue to like look at the used markets, and every day is getting closer to somebody saying, you know what, I just bought the new one and now I don't need my M1 Mac Mini or something like that. He's saying so true. That is so right. I think I could. Saying, yeah, that is true. He goes, that's a 2015 MacBook Pro. It says, I have the M1 Mac Mini, but I see the interest in the iMac. Real difference is outstanding monitor, which Touch ID and Magic Mouse. But you see, I know there's somebody, and I'm not saying that that's you, Mr. Ex-Marine, but if there's somebody out there who's gonna have FOMO, and especially in South Florida. Oh yeah, like to give you a good example, I got my hands on the Sony A7R2, excellent condition, bag, accessories, you name it, I had it, and I got all of it for like $1,000 when it was rumored, and before it came out, not when it was rumored, but when it was announced that the A7R4 was coming out. And this person that I bought it with like really low amount of shutter actuations, basically hadn't even used this camera. Even though they hadn't used this camera, they didn't want it to be outdated because they held back from buying this the A7R3. But now that the R4 came out, they were like, oh no, I gotta get the R4. And I'm like, but this camera has like no photos taken. Like, you don't take that many photos. Why would you need 61 megapixels when you're not even using 42? And they're like, no, I need to have it. I was like, great. I got a steal of a deal. Like all these accessories, I paid $1,000 for it. Yep, $1,000, and he just used that money to spend $4,000 on a camera that he's not gonna use. Oh, guys, look at me. I am cooking. It must be warm here. Oh yeah, I'm really pushing it, guys. I just checked the thermostat. It is 82 degrees up in my spot here. So I'm gonna be closing this shortly. I'm gonna get through these chats, and then I'm gonna call it a night. It says, you're doing a Diana Gladly tonight. Ahaha. I'm not sure what that means, but you'll let me know. I never used the Mac OS because never owned one yet. That will be the next computer or mini laptop in the future. Well, there are some differences in Mac OS if you're coming to Windows, and if you ever get your, in front of one, I would just tell you, take it easy, because I remember, doing repairs on both. I would always be like, oh, I just prefer Windows, and now I hop onto Windows PCs, and I kind of feel the same way, just because once I got back into photography, I definitely jumped back into the Apple ecosystem. For years I had told everyone, people were like, oh, I want a Mac computer, I want an Apple. I'm like, why? What do you do with the computer? And they're like, oh, I just check Facebook. I'm like, don't spend the extra money if you're going to just check Facebook. Like, just don't do that. I'm like, if you're going to be serious about, like, audio creation, like if you're mixing audio, if you're mixing video, if you're doing stuff like that, art, Photoshop, I go, spend the extra money on the Apple. You're going to be happy in the ecosystem. I go, you're going to be happy in the ecosystem, spend the extra money. If you're just checking the web, Facebook, stuff like that, get the best, Windows computer and save yourself a lot of money. There's no need for you to do that. Says Lewis, my eyes are really getting heavy. You're starting to follow Peter with the marathon live stream. No, man, I'm just getting through the chat. I'm feeling it right now too. So if you're heading out, I appreciate everyone. But yeah, I'm just getting through the chat. And then, like I said, I'm calling it a night. He's saying it's so fast. We're talking about computers. What? The Wise Cam, $20. Says, good night, bro. I'm off to work. Yeah, it looks like everybody's heading out, and me too. I don't want to say it, but you're like 30 minutes behind the chat. Oh, man. I don't think that now. Let me see. I think that's what you're talking about, the Diana Gladly. Maybe being like a half an hour behind the chat. Maybe that's why he's laughing at me. Says, my next camera is going to be the Sony ZV-1 soon in the near future. Cool, man. Professor Nez just got one, and we're probably gonna see you there tomorrow, man. Gonna see you on Professor Nez's live stream, and yeah, I'm gonna go see what his new setup looks like. Nano says, Lewis, I'm older than you. LOL. Well, not by much, right? Look, I'm laughing and it's... Oh my god. How would I be if I was out in public and I was trying to speak and I choke on my own saliva? I can't stop, like, coughing. Somebody's like, true? Aha. I think he's talking about the Diana Gladly thing. Ex-Marine saying, which one for travel lens? Sony 16 to 55 f2.8 APS-C or the Tamron 17 to 70 2.8 APS-C? Bokeh is important to me, but video autofocus is a must. If the price doesn't matter and you want the best quality, I would definitely tell you go to the 1655. I haven't had my hands on it. I did look over some raw files that I was able to download from that lens. It really impressed me on edge to edge sharpness, even wide open at 2.8, because 2.8 isn't the fastest, but I believe it's like $1,200, but it would be like $1,200 well spent. It's an all-around walk-around lens. The 55 millimeters is gonna give you like an equivalent of 82 millimeters. The 70 millimeters is gonna give you an equivalent of like 105, I believe, or just short of it. So you're gonna get a little bit more reach with the Tamron, but from what I understand, the Tamron is a lot softer. You know, whether it's on either end, whether it's the most telephoto or the most telephoto, so where you would want that extra reach, you start losing quality in that APS-C only 17 to 70 millimeter lens. So comparative to the quality, if that's something that you don't care about, but you're saying, and then just the fact that you're saying video, okay. I might have to take this back, because you did say video, right? Let me double check. This is important. But video autofocus is a must. Okay, they're both gonna have autofocus. Okay, so pay attention. I hope you're listening. They're both gonna have autofocus. The thing is that I believe the Tamron 70 to 70, the APS-C one, has image stabilization in the lens, which could be the trump card, so to speak, the defining factor on which one you should buy. So now, when it comes to me, overall quality of images, the 16 to 55, it's basically a G Master lens, a G Master zoom lens for APS-C. Now, the Tamron 70 to 70 has image stabilization, meaning when you're shooting video, it's going to take a lot of the handheld jitters out, even if you're shooting at a deeper focal length at like 70 millimeters. So for video, I think the 17 to 70 is going to be your safest bet. They're both 2.8. I do believe that the quality of the Sony is going to be higher quality, but the quality is going to mean nothing if the image is and the video is shaky and blurry, because nobody's going to sit there and have like an epileptic seizure, you know, and tell you that it's going to look good. You know, if you're doing handheld and it's video, I would tell you the OSS, or the image stabilization that comes with Tamron, would be my suggestion to you. Try apple.com, says Sammy. Cooking, 82 degrees. 82 what? 82 degrees on the thermostat. That's what I said. I said it's 82 on the thermostat. 82 degrees Fahrenheit in this room right now. Because what I do is that, like, before I do the live stream, I turn on the air conditioning and I crank that sucker. And I got it going, trying to hit like 69 degrees, 70, and try to like max chill my room. Then, once the live stream starts, I turn it off so that it's also not making a sound. And then there's like just static air as it's like slowly starts thawing out. And now it just got to a point where it's a little hotter than usual, and I started sweating. But I also think it has to do with the fact that I've been coughing. And the coughing just creates like that inertia and that heat coming from within while you're trying to clear your throat. And I think that, with the fact that there is no air conditioning at the moment, got me a little, a little mystified. Okay, so Nano's heading out, saying, okay, later, folks. Says Diana Gladly is not responding till 30 minutes later. Talking about the topic for a long time. That's a good thing. Hey, man, I will definitely take that as a compliment to say that I am in ranks in regards with Miss Diana Gladly, because She is amazing. That lady is a plethora of knowledge, and I'm trying to get to her level when it comes to batch recording and content creation. You know, lady's a machine. She's definitely got a system down, and it's part of her like day-to-day routine, which is what I'm trying to work into. You know, like I said, write down my ideas, get them down on paper. Then when I have the ability to actually be in front of the camera, bring those up and start working on them, because these are the ideas that I wanted to create. And if I can continue to do similar things like to what I did today, which was wake up with an idea, put it on paper, put it down, record, edit, finalize, and upload. Oh, and Andre, if you're still here, because you were actually asking about that, Andre, this is specifically for you because I believe I did reach like the bottom of the chat, right? If you're still listening to this and you're watching it, let me know if you're using TubeBuddy, because TubeBuddy is also a really cool tool that I use to help me manage like my ideas for YouTube. There's a feature in it which we can talk about, and it will help you organize your ideas, because it's kind of like the same thing. Like, you can do it on your phone, you know, and write down your ideas, but you could actually go there to actually formulate the idea in the way that that YouTube wants the videos and the products and the videos. Once you have that set up, you're able to save that as a draft. Then you can go create the video, and when you're done with the video and you're ready to upload, you can just link all that information, title, tags, the whole thing, and just dump it over to the creation and the video that you made. So, TubeBuddy for the win. It's awesome. So, okay, it says thanks for the info, Tamron. It is. I use the Sigma Trio, Sony 35mm, and the photos and the thumbnails. Okay, so you know what? That's great that I read that. If you have the Sigma Trio, I think you'd be good. The 16 to 55 pretty much will like replace all three of those lenses. So that's where people were always saying, like, should I get the Sigma Trio or should I just get the zoom lens that covers it? Because I believe you're at the same price range for that lens and the Sigma Trio. But like I said, the Tamron, and just so that we're clear, if it is the one that we're talking about, the APS-C specialized one that has OSS, that is image stabilized, then that's the one that you go with. If it doesn't have image stabilization, then you know you're gonna be in the same boat with the A6100, because the 6100 does not have image stabilization. And if it doesn't have that feature, I would definitely recommend getting the highest quality that you can out of your images, which being the 16 to 55. All right, and Sammy saying good night, said did a great job. Thank you, sir. It always appreciated, especially coming from you. And that is it. We did 2 hours and 43 minutes on my 500 subscriber live stream. Sammy, Mr. X Marine, Nanotech for your needs, everyone that's been here, Andre, McNasty, Scott, Randall, and I'm mentioning everyone who's just stopped by and maybe is not even here anymore. Kippy, Alicio stopped by. I said Randall, of course. Randall's such a big part of everything that we do here. Sloth was here, Scott Rogers, Andre, Dr. Elo, Tom Buck. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank all 500 plus subscribers and members of the Camera Junkie crew. I just want to say it's only up from here, right? And the next goal is to get that K on the back of that number 1, get my 1,000 subscribers on the channel, and I'll be hosting another live stream similar to this one, when we get there. But as always, I want to thank everyone who stopped by, who's still hanging out here with me. I want to wish you guys a great coming week. Take care of yourselves, because I'm going to be doing this all over again next Saturday. And I'm going to see you here, as always, participating and joining me here in the Camera Junkie crew on the Saturday live stream. As always, guys, thank you very much. Be safe, have a great night, and I will see you next time.